as soon as I got to Phoenix, I started going and hanging out at the Breakfast Club because they'd been buying my magazines from me for years, and they paid me to come out there and speak once a year or so. And just suddenly I got out here, and one little clique of Jews. Oh, we don't be quiet. Jim, you shouldn't say that. We don't need you here. Well, you can't run me out. You know, I got the right to speak. You know, you ain't gonna. You know, you don't want me to talk about marijuana. You don't want me to talk about Jews. Let's say Jews. You know, sunk the USS Liberty, and you know, marijuana. It's on the ballot. It's illegal. You know, where it's on the ballot. So why wouldn't I talk about it? Why you don't? We shouldn't discuss anything that's going on in the world. We should now. To me, I just had a guest on yesterday, and he said the thing that we need to do is arrest these bankers and these politicians for treason, for violation of their oath, for the money that they've stolen. Let's have a fair trial. Let's have a fair trial. Now, why can't we do that? Why can't we get a law enforcement agency to investigate somebody for stealing a couple of trillion here or there? Why can't we?
What I like to say about law enforcement agencies is that every cop in America, every single cop in America, every single teacher in America, every single professor in America, they're all guilty of treason for suborning the perjury that goes with the official version of 9/11. All the cops had to look the other way. They wouldn't have ever done that in a case in their own local precincts. They never would have let these people get away with it. Philip Zelikow and Dov Zakheim and Larry Silverstein and Richard Pearl and all of these Jewish puppet masters who control American politicians. The cops never would have let that happen in their own neighborhood. But once you go above a certain level, there are a lot of famous quotes by famous people about crime is only crime up to a certain level. Above that level, it becomes political savvy, where you go in and kill several million people because you've extracted billions from their country in either oil or heroin. And it's like people are so far from seeing that because they're all trapped into the template that has been created for them, the educational template, which is controlled by Jews, the religious template, which is controlled by Jews, and always reminds us, no matter what the religion is, to render unto Caesar. And that means to be unconscious about the people who are controlling you. And we've achieved that in spades in the United States. Everybody's watching television, and nobody's watching Obama and his homosexual murdered lovers. So it's like, and people, the majority of people are not going to wake up. The majority of people have always been this way. When you read the literature from past centuries, you see that most of the people stayed in the dark, and actually the examples of progress are rather accidental most of the time, a result of some other thing that happened where it has conferred some kind of democratic or liberty promoting action, but these things have been by accident. The world has been run by force. Our animal nature prevails over our spiritual nature because all of the things that have been constructed of a spiritual nature to prevent our animal nature from overrunning us are shams, fakes, based on false knowledge and actually based on a false goal, where it is that you promote the health of your ego to the detriment of everyone around you. And the thing that all humans have failed to realize is that their lives are not based on their own efforts. Their lives are based on the connections that they make with other people, both the people who teach them and the people who they teach. And it's like, it's these networks that give us our lives, our love, and our immortality. And it's like the whole culture is designed to do something else. The whole culture is designed to separate us from the purposes of control. And this is what we have to overcome if we're ever going to have a decent planet.
John, if you read the Bible, and I've been in solitary enough times to have read it a few times, the Jesus told us, you can do what I do and more. Okay?
That's it.
And I've said that Jesus was the first rebel that actually figured out the problem we have today. How do you fight evil without becoming evil? And it really doesn't even matter whether he was real or not. I mean, this is the man wrote the Bible. Men wrote the Bible.
Yep.
They put it into language, and it's really a tale of tyranny, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's over and over and over again. They're fighting terror. They're fighting tyranny. They're fighting tyranny. You know, and they're getting hassled by it.
The first mentions of God in history, and I'm talking way before the Bible, and all of the mentions of gods in history down to a certain point about the 6th century BC when they started to become angelic beings. But prior to that, all the gods were deified men. Great men. They established civilizations. There's still the theme running through all of them that the people who started these societies were so superior and so supernatural and had the ability to make fire and the ability to forge metals and the ability to build houses that the local residents didn't have and were just awestruck by, that they called them gods. These guys must be gods. They know so much more than we do. And all of that went on until a period of time between 200 BC and 300 AD, where somebody amongst the Jews in Alexandria figured out that if we invented a foolproof God, there'd be no coming back from that. Everyone would subscribe to it, because if they just believed our bullshit, they would have a free path to eternal life. And that's the way the world has gone for the past 2,000 years. It's totally wrong. It's not empirical. It doesn't make sense. And it's caused all these deaths.
You know, I've said that possibly, 10,000 years ago, we were used, humans were used to do the mining, to do the growing, to grow the food, to grow the drugs. Every major civilization, every pyramid that we can't build today, that they built thousands of years ago, is in prime dopamine regions. And the governments and the CIA and the Mossad are in the drug business. So maybe we were colonized by interstellar drug dealers. What do you think?
No, I think that's just an exaggeration of the phenomenon of slavery, which has existed at all times in all places and still exists today. I mean, like, God, what's going on in Africa is just such a horror, where all of these people in Africa have been deemed to be less than human, and the gods from Wall Street are going to come in there and tell them what to do and how to live, and give them all these so-called medicines that work to reduce the population. I mean, medicine is a whole other subject, but it goes back to this corrupt spirituality that is guiding our society. And we're not, it's like people think I'm grandiose and melodramatic and overstating the case in so many times, but I'm not. In fact, I can't be melodramatic enough. I've been telling people, I've told you, that fiction is dead, because there's no way fiction can compete with what's going on in the world right now. I mean, the real fictional story that needs to be written as reality is the Rumsfeld tangent, where 10 years ago Donald Rumsfeld said he was going to undertake a CIA media effort to plant false stories in the media, and we have been awash in them ever since, where we can't really tell what's going on. They send all these ships over to Iran. How long have they been parked there ready to shoot? 10 years? It's ridiculous. It's like all of these false things are being paraded across our screens, so that when Obama cues up another one of his executive orders, we don't even notice, because it seems like a lot less of a threat than the one they're trumpeting in the media. And that's why we got a president who can kill anybody he wants, and all of the members of Congress whom we have elected cheering him on. If this isn't the definition of insanity, I don't know what is. And the only way we're going to get out of this insanity is to reject all religious spirituality and try to put our lives together based on sound and solid electric principles.
Do we have an answer, John? You know, I mean, I have tried to figure out where I came up with the idea of Liberty Villages because the foundation of every civilization is a self-sufficient family farm. I believe if we can grow our own electricity and grow our own food, create our own electricity from everything God gave us, we don't need the banks for anything. The whole energy scam, this whole electricity thing. Now, you talk about electricity. My Buddhist over there says it's all electricity, and they're right. You know, they also the vibrational levels too play a big part in this. You know, and they've really discovered by photographing water crystals, if you pour love into it, in other words, if you raise your level of vibrational energy,
that's it.
You attract more things, you attract the good, you attract the positive, and you're doing good.
I'm a living example of the belief in synchronicity. I mean, I've been destitute for so long, I don't even remember when it started. And one time after another, something happens that keeps me going. I've faced a lot of dead ends in my life, and something always happens that leads me on against all odds that keeps me going. And so I don't have any doubt about my belief that there is a guiding hand. If you do something good, it multiplies, and if you do something bad, it multiplies too. But when you fully realize, or as fully as possible realize, the consequences of your actions, and then see the benefits that non-egotistical actions do in the world, it becomes a fun game. Seeing what kind of mirth you can trigger, and seeing how you can improve situations. I know, in my late 60s, I'm seeing people a lot different than I used to when I was little. I used to think everybody knew more than I did, which is probably why I've done so much reading. But now when I look at them, I see them all trapped in this mist, in this, it's like some people say you have an aura around you, but the aura around all of us has been clouded by all of these distortions, both propaganda and electronic, as well as genetic, with all of these things these mad scientists in Jewish hospitals are doing with medicine these days, which is why we have a 96% uselessness rate on all commercial medicines that are also the chief engine of the bankruptcy of most people who are in financial trouble. So it's like we have to have a whole new ethic. It has to be empirical. We have to eliminate spiritual corruption and all of these people who pretend they have the inside. How many different sects are there in the world who say that we have to kill everybody who doesn't believe like us because they're the devil? There are thousands of sects like that.
And a lot of them are Christians. I'm not, the Constitution protects you. If you want to hug a tree, it's fine, Maybe you get somebody to pick the splinters out. If you want to beat your head against that Wailing Wall, knock yourself out. I'll watch. You want to stick your nose in the dirt, your ass up in the air, I'll try to keep the Saint Bernard off of you. And you want to get on your knees and pray to God or Jesus for a Cadillac, I'll just pray that He don't drop it on top of you. But don't try to put me into your thing. Now, I've said, John, if you're omnipotent, omniscient, you're the only one of your kind in the universe. You can do anything, and you can do it, and you can create anything. You know everything. What are you? What are you? Oh, you're God. Well, that's God. Yeah. I think that's the most bored entity in the universe. And so, if you can do this, all of this, what do? You create man in your psychic image. You give him free will, and you give him amnesia, and you sit back, and the whole world's a stage, and you're behind everybody's eyes. None of us need a preacher or a priest to contact your creator. I don't believe you need that. And my new theory is that this is the 21st century. Burning bushes are passé. Today, God works on the internet. And in a way, the scientists are resulting in seeing the whole universe as the electricity connecting the whole universe. And the internet is really the reflection of that cosmic mind, of that cosmic energy that holds the atoms together. And the control of electricity here in this country, and the control of the creation of electricity, what with the oil and the coal, that's really the slavery that they have. Oh yeah, and I've got a Jew on here, Captain Jazz. You could Clay. Why do you keep fighting us? You could join us, and your life would be easier. You know.
I'm trying to hang on to something you said a few minutes back.
Go right ahead, sir.
The Constitution doesn't protect anybody, but we all have to remember that we have rights that supersede any laws. And one of those rights is to say what we want, when we want, anytime we want. One of those rights is to always tell the truth, no matter how much no matter how much of a landslide it brings down upon us. And people have become afraid to say what they believe because they have been regimented by a Jewish educational system that has taught them that there are certain things that you can't talk about. They learn this from religion. There are certain things you can't talk about. You're not allowed to criticize Jesus. You're not allowed to question the Holy Father. That whole structure is disintegrating. People basically don't believe that anymore and are just beginning to see the fraud that it is. And as I've said so many times before, that the fraud is based on the false idea that by what we do in this life, we can live forever and we'll be forever safe. This is a projected delusion. The real God would never say anything like that, because the universe that this God created has one rule: life and death. It comes in a package. You have both. They're both essential to life. So to think that because you know some magic prayer or some magic fact of history that you're immune from this is the ultimate delusion, and the whole world is inflicted by it. And the only way out of it is to fess up and be honest with ourselves and admit that we don't know what happens. Nobody really knows what happens. It can't be. This is information that cannot be transmitted. It all falls into the category of faith, and that is totally subjective and subject to the worst kinds of corruptions, which we see manifested every day in basic newscasts. So what we have to do is say, holy cow, we got one shot to fix this, and the time is right now, and we just have to go balls to the wall trying the best we can to fix it, without getting caught up in I'm better than you are, my God is better than your God. That's all crap. We have to understand, before we can understand why we're here, we have to understand the conditions under which we are here. And we're here on a temporary lease of, if we're lucky, about 85 years. And whatever mark we're going to leave on this world has to be done during that time frame. To spend your life fretting about where you're going to wind up when you're done means you're not doing your job here. Because when you're doing your job here, you don't even worry about that stuff. You let your work stand for itself, and you'll have nothing to worry about.
John, you've been following history as I have. and you know what they're setting us up for right now, don't you?
I think it's the same thing they've always been setting us up for. It's a culling of the population. It's a cyclical thing. It might even have electric oranges, but I have no idea what they are, and I haven't thought about that. But this is the way humans operate, where an alpha group assumes command and manipulates the rest of them. It's just like the gorillas. It works in pretty much the same way. It's supposedly more sophisticated in humans, but we don't really understand gorillas, so we don't really know. And that's the thing, and that's one of the, maybe the biggest mistake humans have made, is they have made declarations of fact about certain things that are in error, that are not fact at all. They are beliefs, and beliefs are not facts. So we need to scrutinize every aspect of our existence, but before we can do that, we need to get clear of the mind lock that's been put on us by the people who control society for 2,000 years. And people will fight tooth, hammer and tongs, using any weapon they can to defend a system that is bad for them and that's killing them and that exploits their children and doesn't give them a good reason for taking their lives. And all Christianity is to say, oh, have faith, you'll be with your Father in heaven. That doesn't do it, because all that does is produce armies that kill each other over minor points of theological dogma. And it's, Jesus, it's time for the world to get together and stop putting up with this usury scam that has allowed this one small, insular group of psychopathic idiots who have conferred chosenness on themselves to rule everybody else and manipulate them and prostitute them and profane them and destroy the lives of everyone, including themselves, over what is clearly a psychopathological, narcissistic megalomania that employs the strategy of giving eternal life to people as a perk for looking the other way when the commanders go and kill somebody to steal what they have. I don't know if you can follow that, Clayton.
Well, I'm thinking of religion. I mean, it's like the people all over are turning to the religion. I mean, the Muslims and the millions, billions, whatever, and the Christians, they're looking for something, and they're being sold that by the churches, by the religions.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is,
Clayton,
what I'm saying is the very thing that they're looking for, they can only achieve by their actions in this life. Any prayer, any path you follow, any philosophy that you try to evangelize others with, none of that really matters. It's like how many people have you made laugh, and how many lives have you improved, and how many people in misery who at least tried to pick up from the hole that they're in, or from the disease that they suffer. It's like every moment. It's like, and that's why I tell people that the future depends on what everybody does in the next 10 seconds. And if everybody is free of spiritual tyranny, actualized in the world, doing something they like, well-fed and loved, we're going to have a wonderful planet. But as long as people continue to be, what did the Pied Piper do? Lured away from common sense by addictions that feel good but actually hurt them, we're never going to have the brain power to control ourselves, and we'll go extinct. The way we're going extinct.
John, I'm probably going to be hitting on you to do some editing on my next book.
Oh, you don't want to do that.
More work. You want more work?
I get that from a lot of people, and I can achieve clarity in my own writing. At least that's what I tell myself. But I find and I've done this really, maybe over 20 times, when I go into other people's material, because I'm kind of a subconscious thinker, it doesn't come out the way they want it. And yeah, I can talk a long time about punctuation and grammar, but
well, actually, what I'm talking about here is what we're talking about today. So you're already working on it, you know. So don't worry about it.
Oh yeah, that's my full-time job.
But you know, my book. I've made the statement here that I plan on just writing fiction from now on, because I don't think the American people or the people of the world can handle the truth of what's really going on.
I don't care if they can handle it. They're going to get it whether they like it or not.
Well, that's why I do the show. That's why
I have so few outlets, Clayton.
But the new thing I'm working on is science fiction in the future, but it's basically stating that the same forces have been behind the Bible, and it's not Christian. It's not you know. It's something more. I think that our Constitution, or our Bill of Rights, gave us the rights of the individual, and I think that's what my whole new novel that I started 40 years ago is about: the rights of the individual.
That's the most important thing: is individual freedom and liberty. Without that, no social philosophy will work.
In my fiction novel, wrote 40 years ago, victimless crimes and usury are abolished in 46 states. 4 states, Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Mississippi, I refer to as the straight states, because they keep the same laws, they keep the same prison system, they keep the same thing going that's going on right now. And when you put it in that perspective, okay, here's what life's like in Louisiana, here's what life's like in a police state. And maybe it can get across to people in fiction, you know, because my character Solomon in this novel is, the Christians think he's the Antichrist. The Jews, because he uses Solomon's seal, the 6-pointed star, they think he's the Messiah. And in truth, he's both.
Don't forget Hiram of Tyre. He was the real big kahuna of that era that nobody talks about, because he's the key figure in Masonry.
How does the Masonry figure in with the Jewish connection? I mean, the Masonry is basically worshiping Lucifer. I mean, that's a Jewish precept, isn't it?
Hiram built Solomon's temple, supposedly, and that's where the connection is.
Okay.
And you know, I can't really get too much deeper in it than that. I just know he's an ubiquitous figure of that period of time that nobody really talks about, because it was the Phoenicians who were running the show. It was the Phoenicians who colonized all these places centuries earlier. And you know, I'm still doing battle with who Yahweh actually was, and he appears to have opposed the Phoenicians, who were the Philistines and all those other names. But the Phoenicians were the white people, which means Yahweh was the God of the non-whites. And yet, when we come to the Christian Bible, we have Yahweh being the champion of the whites, and the Phoenicians, who are clearly historically white, being the non-white interlopers. So this again, and I'm just barely have a tenuous grip on this part, but it's been flipped. And that's what the Jews have done all through time, as Nietzsche pointed out. It's the inversion of values that makes a virtue out of sickness. And that's what we got today with affirmative action and all the non-profits. We've made a virtue out of